With us, we have our current events panel, Hannah Salamon-Vegh and Brock Stephenson. Hannah, just before we went to commercial break, you were unpacking some of the concerns with, I guess, all the COVID mandates at universities. Continue your thought.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how students respond to having to go back online. I know some students are being conditioned to constantly be irrationally afraid of COVID, and that's not a healthy thing. And at my university in particular, that's only really what I can speak to from firsthand experience, but we only had a few cases in residence, nothing associated with classrooms or anything like that. And we were told we had to get this high vaccination rate in order to return safely in person, which we did for an entire semester. And now, because of all the media hype around the Omicron variant, which doesn't pose much risk at all to people my age who are in university, now we have to also go online again and be delayed 1 week. And then we're still gonna have to end at the same time. So we keep having our semesters be shaved, be going online, and still having to pay the same amount of tuition. So definitely this semester will be interesting to see how students respond and then how universities continue. Because if we spend the entire next semester online, I don't think a lot of students will be happy with that.
Well, and I think this is all the yo-yoing is very stressful. I think that's almost more anxiety than the virus itself, if you will. Because you want to know what to anticipate. And it's been like 2 years of a holding pattern. What's going to happen? When announcements happening when? And it's a lot of anxiety, I know, for parents and children. Can't imagine university students who are trying to make their own path in the world, and what world that will be, we don't know. So my hat's off to all the university students who are trying their very, very best. But yeah, I can't see any of these universities taking on that liability for in-person learning, because it all seems to be about liability. Who's going to get the blame for what spread of who knows what? Okay, let's pivot to provincial measures. And this could be part of what's spawning or encouraging a lot of this cancellation of in-person learning is, with Omicron, the new variant, or some call it the scariant upon us. Yes, the rapid cases doesn't seem to be as serious, not really a spike in hospitalizations. Maybe that's the dream virus we should all get so that we can all build immunity. Who knows? I don't know. Well, let's see what the experts say. But with this Omicron variant, now we're having to kind of re-enter the world of lockdowns again. Let's start with Quebec. Quebec went really aggressive just last week. Bars, churches, many other venues, a 50% capacity. The Habs canceled fans from watching their game right on that night. Churches even, vaccine mandates to enter a church. This is a first. I know New Brunswick tried it. Brock, what do you think about all of these things happening in Quebec?
Quebec's struggling. I think they're unsure of how to proceed. And that's sort of the way we've been since we had a large part of adult population be vaccinated. It's been a 70% plus since summer. We've ticked up a few points towards 90 nationally over the last 5 months, but nothing's really improved. Governments don't know how to deal with the issue. They've lost the goodwill of a larger share of the public. I think most people went along with it when it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve, but we're now month 22 and governments don't know how to deal with the issue. The politicians and the public health leadership don't know how to keep the goodwill of people.
My goodness. Well, Hannah, some have complained that Quebec in particular has been quite heavy-handed with some of their measures, their COVID lockdown measures. I remember checkpoints were even a thing at one point outside of Montreal. They wanted to protect the elderly in the eastern townships, so on and so forth. But vax mandates to enter a place of worship, this, I know this was attempted in New Brunswick, and I think they backed down from that, as New Brunswick seems to have on several things. But this is the thing. This happened in Quebec.
Yes, I don't know how our politicians and health officials are not worried about losing the trust of the people, and people kind of catching on to the fact that every time we're told if we do this, if we reach this percentage of vaccination rate, if we shut down, if we have circuit breakers, every time we're told if we do this, then we can go back to normal, then restrictions will be lifted. Every single time we're told that and we do what we're supposed to do, the exact opposite happens. We just get more restrictions, which we've seen throughout history with tyrannical governments. The more power you give them, the less individual responsibility and freedom people have, the bigger government grows. And I think the big issue is just government and public health. They need to leave people alone. And especially here in Ontario, with firing healthcare workers, if you're worried about hospital capacity and overwhelming the ICU and all that type of thing, the last thing you need to do is fire 10,000 hospital staff here in Ontario. And then in Quebec and northern New Brunswick, trying to now have the vaccine passport for church, still with extremely limited capacity. In New Brunswick, trying it with grocery stores. Thankfully, New Brunswick there was pushback against that in New Brunswick. But basically, we're seeing the government will go as far as the people will allow, and they're always trying to test. If the people push back, like with Doug Ford's carding and police stopping thing that he did last year and shutting down playgrounds, the people push back. So immediately the government steps back. It's all, the power is still in the people's hands to say, enough is enough. We've done what you told
Right.
we need to do, and you need to stop fearing the boogeyman.